Hi all, and welcome back to the Hyperstamper video channel on YouTube. And I'm Laura, and this is actually not one of my 10 in the series this week, but this is one I pulled out of my collection that I wanted to feature. I realized I hadn't done a video on it yet. So I made this cover from a 1902 book called The Book of Patriotism. It's an American history book, and I pulled all of the inner signature spines here from all the different antique books in that series and made this lovely little, what I call a little art piece. And then I framed this word out of the dictionary, family, and this word out of a book, which is whimsy. And I got a rusted old key here and a really old chain just to kind of give it it's kind of a grungy, antique-y, Victorian-y look. It's whatever you want it to be, but it is an absolutely spectacular book. And let's have a little look on the inside. Don't forget to subscribe, because I try to put these videos on to YouTube before I put them on Etsy. This one is already on Etsy, but subscribe below. And remember that all of my papers used in here are authentic, antique, and vintage paper. No digital copies, replicas, nothing commercially bought, except my tea-dyed papers that I did myself and hand-stamped myself. So here is the original few pages of the book here. And as you can see here, this was in 1902. And this came from a book called Midsummer Night's Dream. I just pulled that from a title. Made a pocket out of just some lined cardstock there. And this came out of the book. And it's about Abraham Lincoln. I just thought it was too important to just toss the guts of this book out, because there were so many important pieces in it from American history. So I use a lot of those pages in my other journals as well. This is just a little envelope journaling piece that I made. I put some white paper inside because it was quite old and brittle. And love of country, isn't that beautiful? I love that. I hand stamped this here, and I put a nice little children's image. I get a lot of requests for rabbits in the personalization section when you purchase one of my journals. So I hope somebody who likes rabbits sees that. That's right up your alley. And look at this lovely picture on the other side of these birds in the bird bath. Isn't that pretty? I love it. And there's the other love of country there. Made out of a pocket from an 1890s book page. And this is a vintage hanky that was never used. It was brand new in its packaging when I received it. Isn't it lovely? So you can do whatever you like with that. You can leave it in the journal, or use it for other projects, or use it as a hanky or a little napkin. It's just lovely. Or for a bride. Ooh, good idea. Okay, so this is from a vintage bird book, Birds of North America. I did tea dye it because it was too white, and I don't like things that look new when I know they're not new. I know, it's catch-22, but that's how weird I am. So here's another pocket page here, and I made this little booklet. It's just a little flip book of all my little scrap pages, and I put an antique book. I love reading the Roman numerals. One is 1933. Vintage stamp on there as well, and some lace. Here's more vintage stamps. And here's a pocket made out of an antique book page, and it says, "Might I have a bit of earth, darling?" And we got this lovely page here. I believe this is from a theater arts magazine. And this is from the 1950s. So really fun to read those little bits. And you can journal on all the white space that you can find. Made the little flowers out of antique paper as well as this pocket. That's from a canasta score sheet. Isn't that fun? A journal on there, and just a little piece of paper here for you to journal on and add more of your things to. And that is on a 1930s also music sheet. And there's a vintage pattern. And ooh, what's this advertisement from? Oh, this is from, look at that rug cooking. Isn't that pretty? I love it. Canadians loved rug cooking. That was our thing. So that's a very special piece for me. And this is from the 1950s as well. This is from the Paris, France Almanac. That would be this one here. And this one's actually 1936, February 24th, Monday the 24th, and Tuesday the 25th. And if you throw some of this stuff into Google Translate, it's really interesting, because that was just at the beginning of World War II. There's a lot of propaganda, satire in there. And let's do some more here. There's one of Pearl Shop's, actually there's two here, two of Pearl Shop's vintage receipts for you to journal on top of a vintage dictionary page decorated with a vintage pattern tissue. And look at this gorgeous plate from 1902 as well. It looks like pilgrims, and it says from that heroic yet feeble folk. I just love it. It's so pretty. You can tear that out and frame it if you wanted. And this is just a wonderful vintage recipe, full color recipe page. This is actually one of the rare ones. It's colored on both sides. Hardy Norseman here from the 1800s. More tea-dyed pages for you. And sorry, that one's just stuck there. There we go. Got a pretty image of a bird back here. And from the early 1900s from Washington, D.C., this is the Congressional Library. Isn't that wonderful? I think that'll be very special. And look at this pretty book out of How to Make an English Garden from the early 1900s as well. And there's one of my vintage doilies. You can glue that down if you'd like along the bottom and make another pocket out of it. But I left it floppy in case you didn't want to do that. And there's the top of that nice potato page. Look at the colors. They're so vibrant from the 50s. I just love it. Oh, look at that really unappetizing bowl of, I think it might be rice. Here's a 1950s yearbook page. And that's a graduate's page. And here's just a nice little, it almost looks hand typed, but it was on how to type. And I just took this very old playing card. Isn't that great? And I just made it into a fun little journaling spot. Just slip it into its little pocket there. And this is not a different language. Our young people think it's, you know, some kind of foreign language, written language. And it is actually Pitman's shorthand. And back in the olden days, that is how secretaries did their dictation. So each one of those squiggles is a word, young kids. And this is from a children's storybook. It's got some lovely illustration there. And I made this pocket page here out of antique paper and music sheets. And this is from the original book, 1902, Patriotism in General, to give you some more journaling space. And this is from a vintage craft book. This one's on wall hangings and pillow making. And here is the other side of that 1950s yearbook page. Isn't that great? Grade 13 grads. We had grade 13 in Canada. I'm not sure in the States if you ever had grade 13s. We abolished that after I had to go to grade 13, by the way. I got ripped off. And we come to the end, and there's a nice little surprise in the back here, and it's quite a significant book. This is a vintage book of surreal paintings, and this is a 1970s book, so it is 53 years old. Isn't that fun? It's got some value, actually, but I'd rather somebody else have it because I didn't know what to do with it. So there you go. You can find that on Etsy. Again, subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed this beautiful journal. I'll see you soon.